Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you all this evening. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. So on the show this evening, we are going to be talking a bit about Jadon Sancho. There's absolutely some mental news that's come out surrounding this story, so we will jump into that. The situation gets worse and worse for Jadon, that's all I'll say, and we can talk about it in full in a minute. We'll also be talking about some massive injury boosts ahead of the games this week against Crystal Palace in the League Cup and Crystal Palace in the Premier League on Saturday as well. We'll also be looking a little bit at where it looks like Jadon Sancho is going to end up in January. There are links to lots and lots of different clubs, but we will be discussing that. As always, get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show, and let's get straight on into it. So let's start off with Reguilón. In my opinion, our best signing of the summer so far. Now, I'm not saying that Reguilón's the best player we've signed, but by way of the impact he's had, I think he's done the best out of everybody, and I genuinely think that. Obviously, Onana's had a shaky start. Rasmus Højlund's, got a goal in, I think, 2 games, which is not bad, is it? Mason Mount's been injured, and Amrabat hasn't played. So I would genuinely say that at this point in time, either Reguilón or Johnny Evans are our two leading players from last summer's transfer window. Now, the story comes out from Fabrizio Romano, and he says that Reguilón loves playing for Manchester United and is currently enjoying life in Manchester. Reguilón has also just had a press conference or an interview, whatever you want to call it, and he has said the following. He says, Ten Hag wanted me to come, and I also wanted to come here. It was very easy. We talked to him about what he expected from his left back. We share the same philosophy. He likes workers, hard-working, and I also like to work hard. We are on exactly the same wavelength. But you know what? That's exactly what we want. It really, really is. For Erik to be bringing in players who just completely embody everything that he stands for as a manager. And when we talk about Jadon Sancho in a minute, Jadon's somebody who is the complete opposite of what Erik ten Hag wants. But I'm really, really happy for Reguilón. I'm happy for Erik ten Hag that, one of his signings of the summer has really, really worked out. And people laughed at it. I mean, when I found out we were linked to him, I was a little bit disappointed, because there was people like Cucurella. Everyone was saying, let's get Cucurella. It was going to cost all this money. I think Reguilón was kind of the B option, wasn't it, for most people? Most people did want to get Cucurella. But for me, I think it does make sense. And I think that knowing that we have this option of potentially trying to buy him in the future, if it works out, then maybe we go and get that deal done. But what I want you guys to let me know in the live chat, in the comment section, would you give Reguilón a contract at the end of his loan spell? Obviously, he's on loan until next summer. Would you keep him after that point? Obviously, I know it's far too early to give a definitive answer, but from what you've seen so far, if Reguilón continues in the same form as he is now, would you give him a contract next summer? For me, if he does stay in this form, 100%. But obviously, we've got to wait and see how the rest of the season pans out. Right, let's talk a little bit about this massive injury boost. Obviously, Raphael Varane is now back. We are expecting Raphael Varane to be part of the game either tomorrow against Crystal Palace or against Crystal Palace in the Premier League on Saturday. So that's a massive boost. Sofyan Amrabat is obviously fully fit now and available to start. And there's a story coming out this afternoon saying that Mason Mount and Harry Maguire are now back in training and available for tomorrow's game against Crystal Palace. I honestly think that this is the perfect opportunity for both Harry Maguire and Mason Mount to come into that side in the League Cup when the pressure isn't really that high, the expectations aren't really that high. We're at home. Crystal Palace will probably play a lesser team than they would usually. So I think this is a great opportunity for both of them to come on and to get some minutes. Obviously, Martinez is injured. Varane's just come back from an injury. We've got quite a lot of injury problems in that defensive area, and wouldn't be that surprised if we have to see maybe Lindelof at left back or right back at some point this season, because Diogo Dalot and Reguilón can't play every single game in those positions. It's simply not possible. If one of them gets injured, we're going to have to start putting somebody like Lindelof or Martinez when he's back fit at left back or right back. So we need every single player we can get, and this is a big, big injury boost for me. We need Mason Mount to come good. Obviously, the first 3 games or whatever, he wasn't that great, but it's only 3 games, We're going to play 60-odd games this season, and we're relying on Mason Mount to come into this squad, hopefully to occupy that right wing position. Imagine if we start tomorrow, right, against Crystal Palace, and you've got a midfield of Hannibal. I would go Hannibal, Amrabat as the 2 midfielders, and then I'd also play Eriksen, and then you put Mason Mount in there. I mean, that just then gives Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford. It gives all of them a bit of a break, and I think that's absolutely essential. So they're coming back at exactly the right time. I'm really, really happy about that. But let me know whether you're excited to see Mason Mount. I want nothing more than for Mason Mount to work at Manchester United. Yes, I questioned the decision to sign him in the first place. Yes, I thought it was a little bit of a strange signing on Erik ten Hag's behalf, and I thought he probably should have spent the money somewhere else, but we are where we are. Erik ten Hag's picked that player, and Erik ten Hag has earned our trust to this point. He hasn't really got anything wrong, I don't think, by way of signings. I thought Antony last season was okay. I don't think he was as bad as people made out. Casemiro was our player of the season. Martinez, unbelievable. So all of the players last year, I think, did well. I think we just got to trust him, right? It's a 60, 70 game season. Let's judge them all at the end of the season. Let's get behind our team, and let's hope that tomorrow we go out and batter Crystal Palace in the League Cup. Because remember, I know it's the League Cup. I know people say, oh, I want to be winning the Champions Leagues. I would say that the League Cup and the FA Cup are pretty much our only chance of winning a trophy this season, being realistic. And I think we should be setting out to win both of those. And I think we can do it. I think at least one of them is my expectation. But let's wait and see what happens with that one. Yeah, let's wait and see what happens. Right, let's move on to the next bit of the show, though. This is coming out from Fabrizio Romano talking a little bit about Erik ten Hag. And obviously there are people saying, you know, is Erik ten Hag's job on the line? There's people questioning his judgment on things. Is his in-game management good enough? All the rest of it. So Fabrizio Romano has been talking, and he says there are absolutely no thoughts from Manchester United about getting rid of Erik ten Hag. He's not being blamed for the current situation. They understand the difficult situation around the whole club, and he remains the face of the new Manchester United. That is music to my ears. It really, really is. I back Erik ten Hag 110%. I do. We have got an absolute circus going on at Manchester United with the Sancho situation, the Antony situation. We've just kind of resolved the Greenwood situation. We've got an injury crisis, and we've got a takeover that's taken 8 months and nothing's happening. It's an absolute circus. We all know that. The fact that the manager is having to go out and sign the players himself, pretty much. He's having to pick the players. That's not normal. That's not what happens at a normal football club. So we need to get behind our manager. Yes, the football isn't great at this point. Yes, we were maybe a bit lucky against Burnley, but I don't really care, to be honest. As long as we win games, as long as we turn the tide, and then towards the end of the season, we start seeing a proper style of play, that's all you can really ask for. We need to start building up some momentum. We need to get some results in. Let's see what people are saying in the comment section. Lee says Erik ten Hag in all the way. Yes, 100%. As I said, guys, I'm not going to be sending for Erik ten Hag until the Glazers are gone. If the Glazers go, we get, a proper director of football, and then it doesn't work out with Erik ten Hag, then maybe we should get rid of him. But until he has the proper tools at his disposal, I don't think there's a better person in world football at this moment in time who's available. Obviously, you could say, oh, what about Pep Guardiola? He's never going to come to Manchester United. You could say, what about Jurgen Klopp? He's never going to come to Manchester United. So being realistic now, Nagelsmann's obviously just taken the Germany job. De Zerbi, I don't really rate that much. I think obviously, yeah, he's done well at Brighton, but they, as I've said to you guys many, many times before, Brighton already have this system. They already have this style of play. They could sack De Zerbi today or get rid of him, and they'll bring in another manager who would do exactly the same thing as De Zerbi. I'm confident of it. Graham Potter left. Everyone thought they were going to fall to pieces. De Zerbi came in and replicated what Graham Potter did. And that's just because, as a club, they know exactly what they're doing. They're one step ahead. They know that if their manager gets taken, they have somebody else who can line up to fill that slot immediately. What else we got? Mila says, I bet if Pep or Klopp will have 12 first squad players out and all the dramas with owners and players will not do better than Erik ten Hag. But I love to nag when he makes mistakes, but he needs to stay. Yeah, of course. But I mean, that's just part of football, isn't it? That's just part of football. You have to understand that when you're watching a football match, you get more passionate than you do after the game. You can reflect on it better once the game's finished. Once you're watching it, you're sat there saying, why the hell has he not made any changes? Why has this happened? Why has that happened? And it's just a bit frustrating, isn't it? But it is what it is. Right, let's talk about the next topic, though. Let's talk about this Jadon Sancho situation because it's absolutely mental. Where are we? Let's get that one up quickly. Honestly, the Jadon Sancho situation just completely baffles me, right? So let's start off by saying this. Apparently, Jadon Sancho... I mean, people will say he can do what he wants. He's a professional footballer. But once you get the context of the whole sentence, you'll understand where I'm coming from here, right? So Jadon Sancho, there's a video circulating on Twitter today of Jadon Sancho, and he's playing on FIFA. I think it was 3 in the morning this morning, 3 a.m. Take in mind that they have to be at Carrington, I think, at 9. I don't know what time you guys go to bed and what time you go into work, but if you have to start work or school or whatever it is you do, right? You're not staying up till 3 a.m. playing FIFA. I mean, maybe you are, but if you're in the current situation you are with a club, right, that you're in absolute mess, do you stay up to 3 a.m.? I mean, yes, you could if you're responsible enough to set an alarm to get up and still be able to function. So the story says this. Apparently, Jadon Sancho reported late for training again today. He then refused to train. The situation is now pretty toxic. He's refusing to back down on his side. He believes he's fully in the right and firmly believes it's a personal thing against him from Erik ten Hag. I mean, the situation just gets crazier and crazier. How can you, in your head, right? Just think about it like this. How can you turn up late for training after being called out late for training, refuse to train, and then refuse to back down and say that you're in the right, even though that the manager, all they did was call you out for turning up for late for training? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. There's no way that you can defend this situation. I just can't get my head around how Jadon Sancho's found himself in this position. I really don't understand it. And just to summarise that section really quickly, he was up till 3 a.m. playing playing FIFA, EAFC, whatever it's called, on Twitch, right? And there's a video on Twitter of him. It's definitely him streaming live on his Twitch at 3 in the morning. He then reports late for training, which is what he was called out for by Erik ten Hag, that, you know, his disciplinary, his punctuality and all the rest of it, right? Then refuses to train. He's refusing to back down and apologise because he thinks that Erik ten Hag's wrong. I mean, you've literally just proved yourself wrong there in that sentence. And he believes that he's fully in the right and believes that it's a personal vendetta against him. I mean, for me, it just gets worse and worse. And we just need to rub our hands of Jadon Sancho. We need to get rid of him in January, and we are going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. But let me know what you guys think. What would you do with the Jadon Sancho situation? Andrew says a Piers Morgan interview incoming for Jadon Sancho. I wouldn't be surprised. I really, really wouldn't. And I'm sure, as I always say to you guys, right, we need to always be quite careful with these types of situations because we don't know what Jadon Sancho is going through mentally, okay? Maybe there's stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. I know last year when he went off for 3 or 4 months, there was supposedly something going on about him, you know, not just on a physical aspect. So we've always got to be cautious of stuff like that. But you can't just not turn up for training or turn up late for training and then refuse to train and refuse to apologise. I mean, even from a fan's perspective, right, I think we deserve an apology. Like, I think we do. Okay, Anthony's got this whole situation going on with him. Who knows when Anthony's going to be back, if he ever is going to be back. We don't know, do we? Sancho has literally got this golden opportunity to play every single game for Manchester United for the foreseeable future. All he had to do was apologise to you, the fans, to the manager, Erik ten Hag, for calling him out, and also to the owners, not the owners, but, you know, the director of football, John Murtough, all of those people. And he's not willing to do it. And I just think that it shows up his character. It shows his character for me. Like, if he actually wanted what he says he wants, he could have that right wing position in his grasp right now because there's nobody there to take it. Pellistri is miles down the rank compared to Sancho, if you think about it on paper, right? And it just completely baffles me. It really, really does. But let me know what you guys think about the Jadon Sancho situation. Where do you think he could end up? Where do you think would be a realistic option for Jadon Sancho to move? And also, really quickly, everyone who's just joined, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you're new. It really helps to bring more people into the community. We are on the road to 20k subscribers, so let's see how quickly we can hit that next goal in the journey. I'm just going to drop a link in the chat to do that. APU says we should sell him to Spurs. I think he'd do well at Spurs, I do. Maybe it's just the type of manager that Erik ten Hag is. Maybe he just doesn't work with players who have a certain way about them. I don't know. Maybe Ange Postecoglou would be more the type of manager that he needs. I don't know. But yeah, let me know where you think he would end up. There is a story coming out this afternoon, actually, from a couple of different journalists over in Italy saying that apparently Jose Mourinho wants to bring Jadon Sancho to Roma at all costs. It says Sancho has asked to leave Manchester United and Roma are the favourites to sign him. It says wages are currently the stumbling block in the deal. I mean, I think he'd do well over there. I do. But as that story says, how on earth is any club in world football going to pay him his 350 grand a week? Like, it's just simply not going to happen, is it? Especially Roma. I mean, what's Roma's highest earning player? My guess is 200 grand a week would be Roma's highest earner. Would that be Lukaku? Yeah, so Lukaku's their highest earner and he's on 172,000 euros per week. So their highest earner at the moment is on less than half of what Sancho's on. That's crazy, isn't it? Dybala's on 135. Tammy Abraham, 110. Renato Sanchez, 88. That's the problem that we have here. And I think that Jadon Sancho knows this. He knows that Manchester United will have to keep paying his salary. He clearly doesn't have the desire anymore to actually battle to come into this team. He says he does. He says that he wants to do everything for the badge, but I just see through it now, and I just think it's a load of rubbish personally. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this Jadon Sancho situation. Let's read a couple of comments. Somebody says, when is the contract coming to an end? He's got 3 years left on his contract, so we can't just get rid of him. 3 years. He's on about £20 million a season. So it's about £60 million that Jadon Sancho is owed in wages. That's the issue here for Manchester United. Mila says Dortmund didn't want him back, and Bet Spurs don't need this kind of character with the salary and his problems. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Who's going to want to take a punt on Jadon Sancho for that amount of money? Manchester United would want a fee. Jadon Sancho would obviously want stupid wages. It's very, very difficult. RJ says, get Sancho out. I'm sick of this. Yeah, I agree, mate. Look, if you look at it fundamentally in a black and white situation, Jadon Sancho has to leave. But it's not as easy as that. Yeah, it's not as easy as that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. That story that came out was coming from journalists in Roma, close to Roma. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't think he'll go to Roma, though. I think that's probably not going to happen, personally. I think it's very, very unlikely. Malp says 20 million a season. Lol, it's a joke. Yeah, I mean, he's on 350 grand a week. I'd say he's probably... I mean, how much is De Bruyne on, for example? Like, I would say De Bruyne is probably on less than that. De Bruyne is on 400 a week. Haaland's on 375. It's crazy. So Sancho only earns 25 grand a week less than Haaland. I mean, that just sums it up for me, doesn't it? Gift says they should just sell him or loan him out. Yeah, I think loaning him out is probably the most realistic from a financial perspective, because no club's going to pay a fee for him plus pay us 350 grand a week. I don't think so, but maybe, you never know in football. Stranger things have happened. Somebody says remove all the rotten apples from the basket. Yes, and you know what? I think that the way that Erik ten Hag is handling this is actually correct, because we need to set this mentality for the future. If he is weak in this situation, other players are just going to come and try and repeat this same thing over and over again. And I think that he has to stand firm. And I rate how Erik ten Hag is handling this. I really, really do. But yeah, let me know how you think. Do you think he could have handled it better? I think that Erik ten Hag was literally just trying the last roll of the dice to try and get something out of Jadon Sancho. And Sancho didn't like it and then just sent for him on Twitter and then refuses to train. I mean, it's just not great, is it? Malp says British players are nightmares, to be honest. They believe they're the best, arrogant. Yeah, I agree. I do. I don't know why it is. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know, but I do somewhat agree with you. Gary says we should sack him for gross misconduct. I'm sure there is things in his contract that say that he can't, say things bad about Manchester United. But at this point, Manchester United probably don't want to go down a legal route, really, do they? But yeah, let's see what else people are saying. Somebody says Sancho doesn't respect Manchester United and the fans. If he has some little respect, he should apologise for the club's results. Yeah. Marcus says you can remove the rotten apples, but you need a homegrown quota. I mean, we can just bring people through from the youth academy. You get rid of Sancho, right? And then you bring in one person from the youth academy if you want to, hit the homegrown quota. I don't think we can, say that we're only going to keep Sancho just for the homegrown quota. There's plenty of other options we can do to solve that. Dan says we should fine him half of his wages due to refuse to train. I mean, it probably will start getting to that point now if he is refusing to train. I'm sure Manchester United will be in a position to fine him, because that's ultimately like refusing to go to do your work and then expecting to be paid in full. I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? Imagine if you decided you didn't want to go to work. They would 100% not pay you, wouldn't they? They wouldn't just say, oh yeah, no worries, we'll keep paying you. But obviously I don't know the ins and outs of footballers' contractual law and stuff, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But I think the longer this goes on, the more likely it is that he will not be playing. The story also goes on to say that Jadon Sancho is not even allowed in the academy dressing room where the players are. When the players are there. So apparently he was training away from the main squad, right? So he's not in first team training. He was training with the academy players, but he was being made to get dressed away from the academy players. I guess it was because they thought he was being toxic, right? And they didn't want Jadon Sancho to be around the academy players and to be, causing a stir and all the rest of it, which I get, to be honest. You don't want him in there on 350 grand a week around all these young players who are trying to break through into the team and just setting a bit of a bad example, So yeah, I get it. Top Dog says, isn't this a breach of contract? I'm not sure, mate. I don't really know how, contractual law works, really, to be honest. But if anybody knows, let me know. But yeah, right, let's move on to the next story really, really quickly. We've got a bit more of an update on this Hannibal Mejbri contract. This is coming out from Samuel Luckhurst. He says Manchester United plan to hold talks with Hannibal Mejbri over a new long-term deal. And you know what? I 100% back that. I think that's definitely the right decision. I welcome Hannibal at this club. I think he is an incredible player. I think he could go on to be a starting player for Manchester United. I prefer him to Scott McTominay already. I genuinely do. And I hope that he gets more game time against Crystal Palace tomorrow, because I would love to see him break through into the team. Imagine soon, right, if Kobe Mainu, imagine if the midfield was like Kobe Mainu, Hannibal, and either Amrabat or Casemiro. I mean, I would welcome that 100%. I really, really would. That's obviously minus minus Casemiro. That's a midfield for the future, isn't it? Hannibal is 20 years of age and Kobe Mainu is 18 years of age. I would honestly start building around those two players, And when you think that we've got Garnacho, we've got Pellistri, we've got all of these young players, obviously Højlund, really, really exciting. And it is an exciting time, hopefully, to be a Manchester United fan. We've just got to be realistic in our expectations. If he has a bit of a bad game one day, don't, get on him because he's young. We just have to wait and see how he gets on. But let me know what you think about that. Can you envisage a Manchester United midfield with Hannibal and Kobe Mainu in it going forward? Or do you think they're more going to be like rotational bench players? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Right, let's see what people are saying. Andrew says we should put him up for sale. If he doesn't take a pay cut, then let him sit and take his free money. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in the sense that we have to stand strong on this. We can't appear weak, because otherwise it just sends a bad example to all of those youth players that they think that they can come in, they can mess around and, still get paid. I think that if he stays, he's got to just be in the academy, in the reserves, and that'll be it. And his career, I won't say it's over, but it will pretty much be over until he leaves then, won't it? If he's training with the reserves. Nick says we couldn't swap Sancho for a Dairy triangle. His wages and attitude, I would be amazed if anyone would risk signing him permanently. Yeah, I hear you, mate. I do. Somebody says Scott should be sold in January. He is a waste of space. I mean, it's a bit harsh, but I do somewhat agree. I think a waste of space is a little bit harsh, but I get what you mean. He does come onto the pitch. He does ghost. He doesn't really offer much. And there are way better players, I think, Kobe Mainu, Hannibal, who deserve a chance over him. Let's see what else people are saying. Ginge says his wages should be stopped. Breach of contract. He's not training. Don't pay him. I'm sure Manchester United are exploring all of these types of options. They're probably saying to Sancho, this is your last chance. Either you apologise or we're going to start fining you. And then we'll probably see him apologise, I think. Whether or not it will ever go back to normal, I don't think so. I think his career at Manchester United is over. He's never going to earn my respect again. And that's 100% set in stone. I don't care whether he comes on the pitch and scores goals. He's not going to earn my respect again after what's happened over the last month, is it now? We needed him more than ever, and he refuses to apologise. He refuses to train. He still turns up late to training. I can't respect that. It should be the biggest privilege for a player to play for Manchester United. It should. Let alone being paid 350 grand a week. If you can't even be motivated by money, let alone the honour of playing for Manchester United, then you definitely do not have my respect. And I can see why, Erik ten Hag doesn't respect him or doesn't, appreciate the way he's been training. Everybody's just joined in the last couple of minutes. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Let's see how many... Let's read out a couple of comments quickly. I mean, everyone's saying get rid of Sancho. Mila says he's a child with a big ego and a massive salary. Yeah, I mean, he is still... I mean, he's not a child, but he is 22, 23. Still a very young adult. Answer says, who will buy Jadon Sancho with this behaviour? I agree. I think he's almost making himself unsellable at this point. Because ever since he's been at Manchester United, right, he's not been very good. Okay? He hasn't. Let's be honest. He hasn't been very good. Maybe there's been a handful of games where he's looked all right, but he's never been world class. So it's not like you've got a Kylian Mbappe, right, who's trying to force a move. One of the best players in the world. And people would say, oh, I'm not sure about his attitude. What happens if he comes and then in a couple of years tries to force a move? I mean, it's Kylian Mbappe, People would still sign them, but why would people take this type of a risk with Jadon Sancho? And that's where our issue is. Somebody says we should reduce Sancho's salary and then see whether he throws such a tantrum. I'm sure Manchester United have looked at all these things. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of the contract, so I'm not going to comment on it. But if I was them, I would be looking into ways that they can reduce his wage, because if he's not willing to train, if he's still turning up late, if he's not part of the team, then like he shouldn't be being paid the full amount, in my opinion. But again, I don't know. Mila says he's the next Lingard. Marcus says Mount for Bruno. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I do expect to see Mason Mount in the game squad tomorrow. That's what's being reported this afternoon. And I hope and pray that Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro and Marcus Rashford all get a rest. Maybe even Rasmus Højlund as well. I think he deserves a rest. Obviously, have them on the bench. I'm not saying, give them a night off. Have them on the bench. And if we need them in the second half, if for some shock reason Crystal Palace come and absolutely dominate us, then maybe you bring them on. But yeah, I wouldn't risk them at this point in the season. Erik, I don't know what that name is, says, why do we have a manager who won't drop Rashford or even sub him? Ten Hag has no plan B and his plan A game is flawed. Okay, that's the first bit of negativity towards Erik ten Hag we've had this show. I don't know what to say, mate, to be honest. I don't know why he doesn't drop Rashford. Probably because Rashford got 30 goals last season. Probably because Rashford turns up on time to training, has the right attitude, looks like one of the best players in training. Bruno, again, he's the captain. He's got an elite mentality. We know that. I think that Erik ten Hag really respects discipline. He respects punctuality. I think he's not a simple man, but I think he is relatively simple, And if you cross his line, then that's the end of it for you. And I think that's where people like Rashford and Bruno, they haven't crossed the line with Erik ten Hag. Lee says Bruno is a bot. He doesn't need any rest. Mila says, I want to see Garnacho and Rasmus playing together for 90 minutes. Yep. Joseph says players are taking advantage of a broken structure at the club. Yeah, 100%, mate. I do think they are taking advantage of us. And that's why, I don't want to say set an example of him, because that's a bit of like a childish kind of saying, isn't it? But Erik ten Hag needs to stand his ground, and I think how he has stood his ground so far is exactly what we need. We need to sort that out, and he has. Makarov says Mourinho and Sancho is a better love story than Twilight. 100%. Hendrik says Sancho must leave. He is useless. Okay. I mean, everyone seems to be in agreement that Sancho needs to leave, and I 100% agree with that. I don't think there's any arguing over that. Florian says I think Ten Hag needs to have a plan B and C. I'll be honest with you, Florian, right? I agree when we have a fully functioning squad, but if you look at the game against Burnley on Saturday, right? He's missing Luke Shaw, Malacia, Wan-Bissaka, who else? Maguire, Tom Heaton, Mason Mount. Who else are we missing? Kobe Mainoo, Anthony, Sancho. I mean, that's 9 players off the top of my head that's missing from the squad. 9 players who are first team players. It's quite difficult to have a plan B and a plan C when 9 of your best players, or 9 of your players in and around your first team squad, are not available or they're missing. So I agree with you in some ways, but I'm going to give him a bit of the benefit of the doubt for a couple of weeks. Wait until we've got all the people back from injury. Wait until that bench is completely packed full of, your Mason Mounts, your Martials, your Kobe Mainoos, your, Amrabat's fully fit. Martinez is there, I mean, Martinez wasn't there either. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of that. Somebody says, I've not seen Erik ten Hag's press conference for tomorrow's match. Yeah, neither have I. I think it will come out this evening, quite late. I think about 8-9 o'clock. We will talk about it on the show tomorrow. Mila says, will Mount be fit tomorrow? Can we try him on the right wing? Yes, I think he is going to be fit for the game tomorrow, apparently. He did train today, and apparently he is available to start tomorrow. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us this evening. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. This has been Daily Red Devil. I've been Kieran. I'll be back at 8 a.m. Around that time anyway, UK time tomorrow. I'll catch you all later.